Hello and welcome to the third episode of HeartTalk. This is Wajiha with my co-host Shahzeb, and today's episode is another folktale from the region, from the land of Sindh, and we will jump right into the story of Moomal Rano. And Moomal Rano is a story written by Shah Abdul Latif Bhittai, who's a famous folk poet from Sindh. And Shahzeb will tell us a little more about where Moomal Rano is set.
Right, so Shah Latif obviously has quite a few folk tales, and Moomal Rano is one of them. Now, this is a story that is really close to my heart. The reason being that at one point, my grandfather wanted to make a film on Moomal Rano. He wanted to make an epic film, like Mughal-e-Azam type, a Sindhi film. And he attempted it. He recorded the soundtrack. He got some of the best singers and musicians to sing, including Noor Jahan and Mehdi Hassan and Runa Laila. The soundtrack is available. They've been playing the music on Radio Pakistan for decades. But this film was never made, never completed. It remains an unfinished project. I grew up listening to songs of Moomal Rano. Obviously, I had not really delved into it, read it until we decided to talk about it.
And I feel like it's one of the most sung because I was just doing a YouTube search, and there's so many people who have done renditions of Moomal Rano. But can you tell us where is the story set?
Okay, so let's get into the story. It's a story which starts in Third Desert. There is a ruler called Hamir Sumro, sorry. He is out on a hunt with three of his ministers. One of them is called Rano Mendhero. They come across a yogi on their travels, and the yogi is like a beggar, you can call him a fakir, who's sitting in a state of trance. He's radiant, his eyes are red. They are puzzled by him. They sit down with him. They ask him, "Are you okay? What's going on?" And he starts telling them about Moomal, a woman who's supposed to be very beautiful.
Of course.
They're
all
always
the
beautiful.
women are beautiful.
They're always
in all
beautiful.
these folk tales, they're really beautiful.
So I'm going to show you how the yogi looked like. Here, take a look. Okay?
Okay. He was basically in his own world. He was in a state of trance.
Yeah.
Clearly.
Any guesses who this is?
Is that your grandfather?
No, that's my dad. So my dad was
Wow.
playing the role of yogi in that film.
Oh, wow.
Which was never
we will
made.
talk more about this in our next part, but
We will.
thank
So-
you for sharing that, and we'll show it to the audience.
I saw the picture and I'm like, wow, Dad, he was a politician later on, but before he became a politician, he wanted to be an actor. So this yogi describes Moomal to these men, and he also talks about a place called Kak Mahal, which is where Moomal lives. Now, Kak Mahal is situated next to the river Kak in Ludhiana and Jaisalmer.
In India.
Which is now in India, but obviously part of Third Desert. And he says, he's describing Moomal as this beauty, but he's also giving them a warning. He's saying that, those who get entangled with Moomal can never escape, and they are doomed. And he tells them that what a fascinating place Kak Mahal is. So these men are listening to him, and they are really mesmerized. They begin to see a vision that he's sharing of this magical place. And he tells them that, she's a killer. She's a man-eater. And those who go and pursue her, they die. There are graveyards right next to Kak Mahal of men who tried to reach her but failed. So they are really intrigued by all of this. Kak Mahal is sort of, is described as a place which has a lot of death traps. for potential suitors. It has enchanting gardens, labyrinths. It has many streams, unsurpassable rivers, bridges, ferocious tigers, and you can't tell which one is illusionary and which one is real.
It's like a fantasy world.
It's this fantasy place, right? And they've never heard of this, so they are like, wow,
yeah,
cool, dude, shall we go there?
Yeah, there's this element of adventure. They want to know. But where Moomal, I'm guessing, is a princess. If it's a Kak Mahal, it's probably some sort of palace.
It is a palace. Kak Mahal. Mahal means palace. So the backstory is that before they arrive at Kak Mahal, the family lives in Upper Sindh, in a place called Mirpur Mathelo, right? And her father, Nand, is a rich man. He's sort of a local ruler.
Raja Nand.
He has a lot of royal treasure, which he hides in a secret place. And the key or access to that treasure is through a tooth of an animal, which he gives to his eldest daughter, Moomal. So there are 9 sisters. Moomal is the eldest. Sumal is the second one. Moomal is known for her beauty. Sumal is known for her cleverness. So the dad gives it to Moomal, thinking that she's kind of benign and she won't.
Well, the dad clearly is not very smart.
It's not.
He could have given it to the most clever one.
He could have, but I guess a lot of us don't like smart people because we suspect they might take away our treasure. So whatever
even if
the
it's
reason,
your own daughter.
Yeah, even if your own daughter. So he gives it to Moomal. She wears it as a pendant in her neck, keeping it close to her chest, basically. But one day she has a magician or a yogi who approaches her. He knows that this is the key to the royal treasure. He says to her, I'm really unwell, blah, blah, blah. There's only one cure, and it is that tooth that you're wearing. And she says, no, I can help you in other ways. And he's like, no, but this is the only thing that's going to help me. And she, being this really simple person, says, okay, here, take this and go sort yourself out. Many days, maybe weeks later, her father asks her, where is that tooth I gave you? And she says, oh, I gave it to somebody else. And his dad is like super upset. He's like, I trusted you with it. How could you do this? How can you be so dumb? So he's like furious with her. And according to some accounts, almost wants to kill her when Sumal, the sister, says, no, please, don't be rash, don't do this. We'll figure a way out. I'm going to get you your treasure back. So he spares them. And that's when, supposedly, the sisters decide, let's move to Ludhiana, to Jaisalmer. And Sumal, being very business-minded and clever, comes up with this plan. She's like, what can I cash? It's like, Moomal is super pretty, so why don't I play on that? So she builds this palace called Kak Mahal, which is full of these death traps and illusions and everything. And she says, whoever wants to marry Moomal has to go through these tests, and if you can make it, then you can have Moomal. But the whole plan is that all these princes and rich people and hunters, they will come with their wealth, which they will contribute in this expedition.
Because they'll never be able to make it. And so that's how they literally deceive all of these princes of their treasure.
It's like a typical big corporation.
Yeah, it's a great business plan.
Great business plan. Maybe they should do an MBA in this. But basically, yeah. So that's the plan. That's how they end up there, and that's how they are enriching themselves.
And so I'm assuming Hamir Sumro and his ministers, Rano Mendhero, decide to embark on this expedition, which the yogi has told them. The yogi has
explained to them. They embark on the journey, but it's Rano who really undertakes this, risking his life.
And I love the way that the story of Rano and how he overcomes a lot of these struggles. Of course, he overcomes them. We already know that. But he embarks on this journey, going through these mazes and these puzzles. And so, one story is that he sees this lion that's roaring, as soon as he enters, and a lot of people get scared, a lot of princes get scared, so they're like, we don't obviously want to be eaten alive.
Yeah.
But Rano discovers that this is a fake lion because it appears in only one particular way and it has one roar.
Right.
And so he's always carrying a stick with him. And so he just, cuts through the lion with a stick, and he realizes this is actually just an illusion.
Yeah.
So I think he picks up from there and he crosses this one hurdle. Then he comes to another courtyard where Moomal is sitting with all her, 8 sisters, and he has to figure out which one is Moomal. So these are all these traps that have been placed, right,
Yeah.
for all of these people. And Rano is trying to figure out who it is because they all have their ghungat, their veil in front of their faces. And so Rano realizes there's like this bee buzzing. I don't know, maybe like Moomal has been bathing in honey or something, or she smells
Supposedly
like really
she does.
nice.
She has a lot of fragrance and everything. Yeah.
So he sees this bee buzzing, and so he's attracted to that, and so he says, this one is Rano. No, sorry, this one is Moomal.
Yeah.
I am Rano, this is Moomal. And he identifies her. Then, all the other sisters disappear, and then apparently Moomal asks him to sit next to him. That's like the final test.
Yeah.
And so now there are all these traps. So apparently if you sit in the wrong place, you can literally fall into this never-ending well and be trapped there forever.
Yeah.
But Rano is very smart, and he uses his stick again, and he tells Moomal that, no, I want to sit on the seat that you're sitting.
Yeah.
And so she obviously has to get up, and he reaches her. They both finally meet, they fall in love because, he's the one who has been able to overcome all these hurdles, all these struggles to get to Moomal. And that's where, Rano and Moomal are united. Rano apparently lives in Umarkot. So he spends the night with Moomal, and every day he travels to Umarkot, and that's his journey,
Yeah.
So
On a
one
camel.
day, on a camel. And one day he gets very late in attending and coming back to Moomal. So either she's upset, there are multiple versions about this, or she tries to maybe like bug him or annoy him with her sister. So what she does is, because I guess they're really naughty, her Moomal and Somal, they're like naughty.
Naughty, yeah.
Yeah, they like playing tricks on people. So one day she decides that, she's going to make her sister Somal sleep with her on the same bed, and she wears men's clothing,
The turban.
the turban, and there's one version that says that because it was an unsafe land, Sumal was wearing this so that if any thieves were to come unexpectedly, because Rano isn't there to protect them, they would be discouraged to actually steal anything. So anyway, Sumal is wearing those clothes. So when Rano finally arrives, he sees his beloved lying next to another man. He gets really angry, and he says, she's been disloyal to me, and he just abandons her and he leaves her. Moomal wakes up, sees his stick that's there. She realizes, oh no,
He's been here.
he's been here,
He's seen
and
me.
there's been a misunderstanding.
Yeah.
He thinks that I was cheating on him or something.
Yeah.
So she goes to Umarkot, and she apparently dresses up as in disguise, trying to convince him. Rano is like, no, you have cheated me, you have lied to me, you have deceived me. She says, but that wasn't anyone else, that was Sumal, and he doesn't believe her. Yeah. Anyway, I think how it ends is that he just doesn't seem to forgive her, and she jumps into this fire and kind of just
To prove her innocence, yeah.
to flame. Rano finds out that actually she wasn't in the wrong, and he's obviously really sad by this, and he also jumps in the same fire, and they both unfortunately die. So that's like the tragic sort of ending.
Yeah. Wow.
But it's a really magical, like fascinating fantasy almost. I mean, hum Game of Thrones and Lord of the Rings and all these, current
Alice
magical
in Wonderland, that's what I was thinking when they talking
traps.
about the traps in
We look at all this literature, but here we have Shah Latif writing about this, and not just writing, actually, he's written this as a song. It's supposed to be sung.
Yeah.
It's like, I think it's one of my favorite stories that I've read so
Mine
far
too.
also,
So yeah, I mean, when you were describing both the characters, it's interesting. Rano is described or admired for his strength, his skill, his ambition, that I'm going to cross all these hurdles and get to
Very masculine.
He's masculine.
Achieve his ambitions and.
And according to Shah Latif's version, you don't get the sense that he's in love with Moomal. Moomal is a conquest for him, that I have to get to her and I have to have her. And that is why, it seems to me that over a small misunderstanding, he just shuns her. While Moomal displays these qualities, I don't know, it's called feminine love or what, but she is in love with him for sure. When she's missing him, she's longing for him, she's singing for him. She is completely devastated that she might have broken his trust through this misunderstanding. And in Shah Latif's poetry, when he's speaking through Moomal, you can sense the pain. So she is this emotional person, spiritual person, while Rano displays more of the worldly, or I don't know, masculine, manly. I have to have this. I need. It's a challenge. For him, it's a challenge.
On the one hand, you see these, but then on the other hand, you also see them very interchangeable in their masculine and feminine qualities, right? So even Moomal and Somal have these ambitions. They have a business plan to deceive all these princes, very modern, independent women. That we're going to make all this wealth again, repay our father, and trap all these people. But she eventually realizes that that's not the joy that brings to her, is actually Rano brings her the real joy.
Once she's in love.
Once she finds him, once eventually. And then even I think Shah Latif also changes his voice sort of changes. First he writes from the perspective of Rano, trying to achieve his goals, and then he shifts towards Moomal. And I find this whole interchangeable, very similar to what we experienced in Heer Ranjha, how they both embody masculine and feminine characteristics.
So that's the running thread in many of these Sufi tales, where soul has no gender.
Yeah.
And the dichotomy between the seeker and the beloved
is almost blurred.
Yeah. Right?
And so Moomal eventually, at the end, it's she just realizes that Rano is actually within her.
Yeah.
And I think that's like where the ending comes. For me, I think this whole story is, there's nothing worldly about it. Even the way it's been set.
Magical.
It's magical, it's fantasy, it's all these mazes, these puzzles.
Yeah. And I think spiritually, as you were just saying, that's the journey. Falling in love, then pain and suffering, separation, and discovering the essence, the spiritual truth within yourself.
It's the journey of ishq-e-hakiki, जिसे हम कहते हैं, the journey of love, और उसमें मुझे ये भी interesting बात लगी कि the elements that are constantly brought about of fire and water, and there's that famous शेर कि ये इश्क नहीं आसान, बस इतना समझ लीजिए, आग का दरिया है और डूब के जाना है. Right?
True. You have to immerse yourself in it.
तो आप जब तक उसमें completely डूब नहीं जाएंगे, आप ultimately वो उस हकीकत को नहीं पा सकते.
So we are always kind of seeking happiness. We wish each other happiness, but that's not our permanent state of being. And it's actually, reading this makes me realize that suffering is an integral part of growing up. And like Rumi also says, the heart has to break for the light to come in. And it's a running theme in many of these stories.
Latif was very inspired by Rumi also.
Yeah. So in fact, Shah Latif is called Rumi of Sindh. Even though they are hundreds of years apart, but the thread and the message is the same. Yeah. So I like the way you tell the story. I was just thinking, if ever the film was made, how would they have done it? How would they show Kak Mahal? And
yeah, please tell me about your grandfather's film, actually, because I mean, this is something for us now, why did it not get released? I mean, what happened?
So I've inquired into this, and I've also asked my family where is the script. There's a very respected Sindhi intellectual, Dr. Tanveer Abbasi. He wrote songs and script of the film. He was a friend of my granddad's, Dada Shah. So basically during the martial law period, when my father was in politics, the army barged into our homes and they kind of took away a lot of things, and among them was the script of Moomal Rano, plus the whatever filming and stills were made. So all the record is gone. What we have is those tracks, which my grandfather himself made sure that he records. There used to be these musicians called Ghulam Nabi Abdul Latif at Radio Hyderabad, Pakistan Radio Hyderabad, and he indulged the best talent available. So those songs are with us. I've been asked again and again that we should attempt making the film.
Modern day version of Moomal Rano.
Modern day version.
Or maybe bringing back that same version.
It'll have to be a period drama.
But it was recorded. It was completed.
No. The filming hadn't begun. So they had the cast, the producer, the director from Lahore, everything was lined up. And before you start filming, basically you go and do still photography just to get your frames and everything. And near Khairpur, where I'm from, in Sakhar, River Indus, there's a place called Sad Belo, which is a little island with a Hindu temple. And apparently they had gone there to do initial still photography. And the picture I showed you of my dad is somewhere there, where he's playing the role of the yogi. So yeah, the film wasn't made because the hero and heroine of the film, young, dashing, beautiful couple of the time,
who were
fell
they?
in love and
Do we
decided
know?
to get married. You wouldn't know. Their name is Zahur Afghan and Ghazala. I call them Ghazala auntie.
They were actors.
They were up-and-coming actors. They were kind of broadcasters. They were in the media.
Okay.
And they were kind of...
And what year was this?
This is, I believe, in early 70s. So maybe, 70, 71, 72, around that time.
Wow.
So yeah, they fell in love and they got married. And then the heroine's family came to my granddad and said, look, ab to ye hamare ghar ki izzat hai, ye film mein kaise kaam karegi? And I think there were also some budgetary issues. So it just kind of stopped and then it just was never made. So one of those unfinished projects, but again, like I said, a story that is very close to my heart. You have heard some of the songs, right?
Thanks to you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I mean, Noor Jahan has sung songs
so not
in
many
it.
people have heard
She's
Noor
not even a
Jahan
Sindhi speaker,
sing.
but she was singing
Absolutely.
Sindhi. Mehdi Hasan Saab, thank you. I mean, those are all available on YouTube, so everyone should, just do a Google search.
We are going to put
or
a
we'll put
link.
in links.
Yeah. But before we end this episode of Moomal Rano, I'm going to have to ask you to maybe
sing,
one of the songs. I think this is the one by Noor Jahan that you...
Yes, so the version that you've shared with me, and I've, tried to sing it the way that she has. Aao Rana raho raat, aao Rana raho raat, to hinje change ke chandan charya, to hinje change ke chandan charya, aao Rana raho raat, vethi ne te nihareya, vethi ne te nihareya, takinde pir bhaat, takinde pir bhaat, to hinje change ke chandan charya, to hinje change ke chandan charya, muke aahe mendhara, muke aahe mendhara, वाई तोहें जी बात तोहें जे चांगे के चंदन चारियां तोहें जे चांगे के चंदन चारियां आओ राणा रहो रात. Thank you. And I love this line, "Tohin je change ke chandan chariyan." मतलब कि, you know, I will feed your camel sandalwood.
Yeah, absolutely.
So please, Rana, come back.
Because apparently sandalwood हर जगह available नहीं था, काक महल में available था.
हाँ.
So this was kind of a treat for the camel. So she's saying कि तुम्हें जो तुम्हारा जो camel यहाँ पे आएगा, मैं उसकी भी खिदमत करूँगी.
और कितनी आप इज्जत दे रहे हैं even to the animal. मतलब वो कितना sacred है उनके लिए कि उसकी actually जो call है उसको बुला जो रही है वो कह रही है कि मैं तुम्हारे camel को खिलाऊँगी अच्छा. You know, that's the way to get Rano to forgive
it's beautiful. And the way you sing it is really amazing. I mean, Veti Net Niharya फिर है फुटी फिर बात मैं सारी रात तुम्हारा इंतज़ार करूँगी because he visits her at night और जब तक you know जो सुबह की जो dawn की पहली ray नहीं आती I will wait for you all night and that is I wonder if that kind of love still exists where you are so committed to a person I mean in a worldly context कि you would stay awake all night for somebody to come you know night after night. So she's really calling out to him. This is a song where she is really
longing for him.
Longing for him.
Yeah.
And obviously Noor Jahan did a fabulous job. And so
I'm no Noor Jahan, but yes, thank you for sharing it with me, and it's beautiful. It's beautiful. Such a treat, and it's been such a joy to even read this magical story. You know, for those that have not experienced folk heritage, I think, you know, or haven't read these stories from our region. I mean, Moomal Rano is definitely one of my most favorite ones so far.
I'm so glad. We're really enjoying this. I hope you are too. But yeah, with that, I think we have to close. We will be back next week with another folk tale. Please, please, please do send us your feedback. What do you make of it? What would you like more? What would you like less? Urdu में बात करें या English में बात करें, whatever. We are open to your comments. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening.